Hi, welcome back to the channel. This week we're looking at the new plugin from The Hymn called Ninja AB. And if it's not clear from that name, it is a referencing tool. Now, putting aside this plugin for one moment, if you're not currently referencing when you produce your tracks, you're really missing out on a trick. Just like everything in life, to know how good something is, you need to have a benchmark. And the benchmark in this case is other tracks that you admire, and then you compare your mix against those to see how they compare in level and dynamics and structure, things like that. Now, there are various ways to do this. There are already several plugins on the market, and personally, up until this plugin, I was using just an audio track on my project, and I would just flick back and forth between them, and that was working quite well. But after playing with Ninja AB, I think I'm pretty much sold on this as my primary referencing tool. So here I have it loaded in Cubase. It obviously works in every DAW. And in Cubase, we have the possibility to add plugins into the master output, or I should say the control room output. So this is essentially post the track output, but before the monitors. So anything you render isn't going to include these plugins, but everything you hear does include these plugins. And by putting it in the control room, this loads on every project. So if I close this project and add a new one now, this will automatically appear in every project going forward. In Ableton, I would put it on the master channel. And I think in most DAWs, basically it's best suited to the master channel. And I should clarify, this absolutely does not impact the sound at all. I'm only putting it on the control room just for convenience. So let's have a look at it then. Down the bottom, we have 10 boxes. These are essentially our references. We have 9 references that we can load into it. And then the 10th is the project that I'm currently working on. So essentially, project is this project in the DAW. So like I said, this is where you choose your 9 references that you want to benchmark or compare against. For the purposes of this video, I'm only using my own tracks. That's just for copyright essentially, but you would load whatever you like in there. So when I'm not recording this video and I'm working on my own projects, I'll have artists in here like Adja and Hallucinogen and blah, blah, blah. All artists that I really greatly admire and I love their production. So then I can benchmark against those tracks. Now, when you first load this up, just a bit of housekeeping that you should probably do first, because this stumped me for a little bit of time. Go over to the settings to the right, these little horizontal fader bars, click on that, and then you choose your project length. So if you're working in Psy or some other projects where the tracks are quite long, you will need to extend this. So I think by default it was 161. So I needed to double that essentially. So look where your project is. Mine finishes at 273, so I just rounded that up to 300. Otherwise, when you play this back, this readout, this display, will cut out obviously where that limit is. Then the next thing to do for housekeeping, basically play back your entire track and go get a coffee or whatever when that's happening. Just play it back in full, and when it's doing that, it will capture the project in this project reference down the bottom here. I find doing it from the outset basically just sets everything up initially, so you don't need to worry about it going forward. It will obviously keep updating every time you play it. It will keep refreshing this, so you can do it in sections as you progress through the track, but as I said, I just do it all in one go right at the start. So then once we've done that, we have A, which is the track, the project that I'm currently working on, i.e. the same one as in the project here. And then we have B, and B is whichever one of these references you currently have selected. So in this case, I've selected 1, so it's going to play back 1 when I flick back and forward A and B like so. So let's just give an example of that. Let's play back this. I'm currently playing back my own track. But then how does that compare to the reference? Well, let's choose B.
Which is very altered, where your perception, your cognition.
Let's choose the second one.
Very different.
Or back to the original. So even from that quick listen, there's a few things that I would change, different levels, etc. But one thing to be wary of is that in this case, I might have been comparing an intro section with the main build of the track, or a breakdown, or a drop, or etc, etc, etc. You need to ensure when you're referencing that you're comparing like for like. A verse with a verse, an intro with an intro, etc. So to do that, go up to the top here, ensure section is selected, and then we can flag in the reference and the track that we're working on where those sections are. So if we click on project down here, I have these sections marked. Now for those who know Psytrance, you'll know that a verse and a pre-chorus and things like that aren't really applicable. I've just used these default names, but we can change them to whatever we want. So we can call it blah blah, for example. So for something like Psy, I would call it main build or the full power section or whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. Call it whatever you want. I'll leave it at verse though, because it's just for demonstration purposes. And then go over to your reference tracks and you put the similar sections in, so flag them. Here we have verse and pre-chorus again, And then in the second reference, we have verse and pre-chorus. So now with that, let's go to our track. Let's go to the verse here, which I have marked, starting at bar 25. You notice in the project, it also starts at bar 25. So now that we've set that up, let's play back the project track, and I'll flick to the first reference, and you'll notice that the section automatically follows along. Reference, and there you go. We are playing this section, the start of the verse. Let's go to the pre-chorus. And boom, we've jumped to the pre-chorus in the reference. Let's go to the second reference. And once again, we are here in this pre-chorus. Let's go back to the verse. And once again, we've jumped back to the verse. So the reference always follows those sections, which means you're always comparing like for like. And then once you've set up these sections and the reference tracks, this will automatically be applied every time you load that track. So you don't need to do it every time. Currently, we're set to RMS view. We can also select waveform here, or we can choose the multiband view. So here we can see the highs, mids, and lows, and we can compare each against the reference once again. Super cool. Let's flick back to the RMS view now, and we can see here this solid line, if you like, the darker one. This is our RMS level. And then we have our peak level up the top here in the lighter color, in this case, the lighter color magenta, with this brown line denoting our crest factor. So this is the level of dynamic range in that section. So you look at directly inversely proportional. We can turn that off in the menu. We can disable show PSR line, but I find that really useful. So let's keep that on. And just in case you're wondering why mine looks different, that's just on account of the theme. So if you go down to settings, and then you can choose different ones here. So I have it set to light just because I thought that might be easier to follow along in this video, but I prefer the Monster, or the default one is Ninja. I think that's how it comes out of the box. So let's go back to Monster. And also, Jay has very kindly set up a discount code for viewers of this channel. For 2 weeks, it'll be 30% off using the discount code in the description. I won't mention it here because it will be redundant after that time. So if it's in the description, it's still valid. If it's not, then that link has expired. So go and grab it while the discount is still applicable, and it will absolutely change your mixes, I guarantee it. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back next week with something else. We'll see you then. Bye.